City Council meeting. I want to call the meeting to order and start off by asking Lisa to call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Nelson. Councilmember Chance.
Here.
Councilmember Bradburn.
Present.
Councilmember Hackey.
Here.
Councilmember Grossman.
Here.
Councilmember Stricula.
Here.
Mayor Spaeth.
Here. Before we go on, Vice Mayor Nelson wanted me to express to everybody her, actually, she said her sympathy for not being able to be here tonight. She had surgery on Friday, and she's having a very long recuperation with the surgery she had done. So I think it would be nice if everyone kept her and your thoughts and prayers for hopefully a quick recovery, because it's going to be a tough one for her. So I just wanted to mention that. Right now, I'm going to ask everyone to stand for the posting of the colors by the Mason Police Department, and then we will have the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Executive session council meeting and the November 14th council meeting.
So move. Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, number 5, we are to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple of items I wanted to draw some attention to. First of all, and a bit of a follow-up to our last meeting, December was significant for the city in terms of something we don't often talk about, but our outstanding debt. I think Council can be very proud of how well managed and how debt has both proven useful, and then how we have handled that debt well managed. December saw the payment of $4.2 million of outstanding debt was paid down. That is on top of $12.4 million in sewer bonds that were paid off this year. When you add that to the $2.3 million for road and stormwater improvements and $6.9 million that was paid off in previous years for this building, that means the city's outstanding debt has moved just in this year from $58 million to $54 million. Consider how much lower that is than the city's outstanding debt in 2009 of just over $100 million. As we get later into the agenda here, the 2023 budget plans for that balance to be reduced further to $49.5 million by the end of next year. As we've often talked, debt is useful to the city when you consider growth and significant capital improvements that need to be made, together with the city's bond rating. But then it is, I think, useful to know that once that debt's incurred and put to helpful use for the community, how we manage that and are able to pay it down. I think Council can be very pleased with how well that has worked on behalf of the city. Also want to mention again, the City of Mason has created a Shop Small Holiday Passport to help support local holiday shopping. Residents are encouraged to support small businesses during the holidays. And by going to the city's website, www.imaginemason.org, can see details on how utilizing a passport shopping at 5 different small businesses from different sectors will enter them into a drawing for Come Together Mason gift card. I encourage folks to participate in that, and that program ends December 31st of this year. Similarly, in the community center, folks are encouraged to drop by. There is the annual poinsettia tree, a very large tree made of poinsettias. And this year, guessing how many flowers are in the tree also enters you into a contest for a Come Together Mason gift card. Also, what has proven popular over there is a sleigh and a gingerbread throne. I think Ms. Heft had something to do with that. But you'll see several folks stopping by to use that to get photos with the tree in the background. Reminding council, the Jewish Discovery Center is hosting a Hanukkah celebration. Again this year is going to be held on Tuesday, December 20th at 5:30 p.m. It is being held at the Deerfield Town Center in front of specifically the Aveda store. Council has been specifically invited by Rabbi Kaufmanson to help participate in that with the community at large. It is also obviously open up to the entire community. I know they would be eager to see folks there. As the holidays are coming up, a reminder that city offices will be closed on Monday, December 26th in observance of the holiday. Some of the other days, such as the 23rd, January 1st, there may be limited services, but offices will be open. The community center, excuse me, community center will be open all of those days. On some of those holidays, there will be limited facility access, but patrons will continue to be able to take advantage of things such as the fitness floor, the walking track, and locker rooms. However, this year, because of how the holidays fall, there will not be a disruption in Rumpke services. Your typical collection day will remain your typical collection day. And following the holidays in January, the city will begin Christmas tree pickup, where residents can place their live trees, or formerly live trees, at the curb to be chipped and recycled. I think with that, Mayor, I have one request from council. I probably get mixed reviews on decisions I make as a city manager, but I think one decision that has been a home run for the city of Mason, as well as impactful for me professionally and personally, was when we convinced Chief John Moore to leave the city of Dayton and come lead the city of Mason's fire department. That was 15 years ago. He has continued to have an impact, raise the professionalism of our fire department to be one of the standouts in the region, but also has taken the lead in helping the city with the golf course, and I think perhaps more significantly throughout the organization, leading professional development, mentoring several of our employees as we transition from the city of Mason today to the city of Mason of the future. Chief Moore has been at the forefront of that. He is, I just want to double check, ending his career at the city of Mason? You're still? Okay, we've gone back and forth a few times over the years, so it's not too late. But there is a resolution honoring Chief Moore. I'd like to ask council to move that up on the agenda now to consider that for adoption.
Okay, if it's okay with all of council, I'd like to move up item number 9, if that's all right with everyone. Okay. I believe, Jeff, you're going to read this resolution in full for us.
I am. This is Resolution 2022-28, commending Chief John Moore for his outstanding dedication and service to the city of Mason, Ohio. Whereas Safety Director and former Fire Chief John Moore is retiring after giving over 15 years of dedicated service to the city of Mason, Ohio, serving as Fire Chief from 2007 to 2018, and Safety Director from 2009 to 2022. And whereas in addition to his service with the city of Mason, Chief John Moore has dedicated 50 years of his life in the fire and safety service industry, beginning as a volunteer firefighter in 1973 and serving the Dayton Fire Department from 1975 to 2007, where he served in multiple capacities, including Assistant Fire Chief. And whereas many fire and EMS initiatives were established during Chief Moore's leadership of the fire department, including the reorganization of the department, the opening of Fire Station 51, the Safety Services Charter Amendment, revitalization of the city's Emergency Operations Center, and strengthening of the city's fire, rescue, EMS training programs. And whereas in addition to his contributions to the Mason Fire Department, Chief John Moore was instrumental in developing City Team 1, the city's leadership development program that has graduated 57 full-time employees since its inception in 2016. And whereas Chief Moore has served as the city's liaison for the Grizzly Golf and Social Lodge since 2009, helping to align course and facility operations with the city's vision as a community wellness asset. And whereas Chief Moore has devoted the last 15 years to protecting and serving the residents of the city of Mason. And whereas with honor, integrity, and compassion, Chief Moore has impacted the lives of many, and his influence will have a profound impact on the future of Mason. And whereas Mason City Council staff and community wish Chief Moore continued success and happiness in retirement. Now therefore be it unanimously resolved by the Council of the City of Mason, Ohio, Section 1, that Chief Moore is hereby given the commendation of the Council of the City of Mason for his outstanding and distinguished service to said city. Section 2, that the Clerk of Council is hereby directed to certify a copy of this resolution to Chief John Moore. Section 3, that this resolution shall take effect and be in force from and after the earliest period allowed by law.
Okay, thank you. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
Moved?
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, I need a motion to adopt. Okay. Any council discussion? Yes.
Mayor, I have to, we were just talking, Chief Moore and I were just talking, we go back 15 years, 2007. We were having some, what I thought at the time as a council member, some systemic issues with our fire department, and was able to convince the city manager at that time there were some issues. And first sat down with Chief Moore up in Kettering with Chief Farrell, maybe Matt Klein. He mentioned Matt Klein, and I can't remember who else. And I can remember Eric saying, well, you know, what do you think? I told Eric, I said, well, you got to work with him, not me. I just approved the budget or the position. But Chief Moore has been a pleasure to work with. He's embraced many of the things that came out of the Conestoga Rovers, especially your incident command and what you've done downstairs. I don't think there's any city, and I doubt if there's many counties in Ohio that have such a nice setup downstairs to handle situations that we don't think are going to happen, but we do know that they do happen. And that. Probably the one time I really got upset with Chief Moore was I had a fire helmet from my time on a volunteer fire department. And he made the comment, he says, oh, an antique fire helmet. And I thought, well, I think what he's saying is I'm old. But it was an older metal helmet. But Chief Moore has gone ahead and provided that leadership we needed in the interim to go ahead and mature our department. And that was the big thing that our city manager saw, was that we were a new department. We needed longevity in some of the positions, and that Chief Moore provided that linkage that we needed until we got to where we are today with Chief Brummingen. So I hate to see you go, but I know there's a point where you just say, hey, I've had enough. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my life and go on. So I'll be quiet here. I don't know how many of you had really had a chance to work with him, understand him. I know that you're a good friend of Chief Farrell, and that I can remember an incident. I think it was a SWAT incident, and Chief Farrell made the comment, I bet you've never seen so many SWAT situations in a community like this. And I remember your response was, yeah, I don't think I've ever seen so many SWAT situations like in a neighborhood with such high expensive housing before. So there is humor at the scene at times, but it's deadly serious. So Chief, and to your wife, enjoy it. With that, I'll shut up.
Hey, thank you. Anyone else want to make a comment? Yes.
Chief Moore, it's hard to believe that you've been serving the public since 1975. that's almost 50 years of public service. It's remarkable. And yet you look so healthy and it just so ready to embark on a new adventure in retirement with your beautiful wife. And we are just so proud that you have chosen to serve so long in the city of Mason. And as Member Bradburn said, you really changed the DNA of how our city operates with your incredible wisdom and your patience and endurance. And I'm not sure what the most difficult challenge has been as you've worked here with the city. It could possibly have been serving with the golf course, because we've had a lot of challenges with that. But that one's really unique in the sense that you got to engage so much with the public, which is so special. I'm so glad that the city chose such a wise and patient and engaging individual to do that with our golf community. So we just are just so touched that you would have spent all of this time with us, and we are sad to see you go. But you deserve a happy, healthy, and very long and adventurous retirement. So thank you, and Merry Christmas.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Yeah, I echo a lot of what they've already said, but, Chief, I know you've been trying to get out of here for probably the past 5 years. And Eric has done an incredible job of keeping you here. And we were kind of joking earlier that you can go down and enjoy Florida without worrying about getting phone calls from the city asking questions. So as you embark on this, I just ask, many blessings over you guys, and have fun and enjoy it. I mean, it's, after 50 years, starting in 1973 in public service, you're due to serve your guys' self now. So congratulations on that, and thank you for all the hard work out at the golf course you did. I know that's kind of been an undertone where not a lot of people know how much work you have put into that. I've seen it when you talk to the people out there. I had no clue how often you were out there and actually walking the grounds and looking at every aspect of that course. And that didn't go unnoticed. A lot of people greatly appreciated that, especially the Grizzly Coalition. And if I ever have to meet with them, I might call you back in just to help with that. But thank you again. 50 years of service is incredible. So thank you. And enjoy your time you get. So congratulations and Merry Christmas.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be very brief. Chief Moore, I just wanted to say thank you for your service. Thank you for your time here. It's been an honor to have met you, to know you. My only regret is that we didn't have more time together. So if there's a reason for you to stick around, if you want to get to know me better, that'd be great. But thank you so much for your service. Appreciate it. Congratulations. Enjoy your time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I just want to say thank you, the same as everybody else. I know when I started the first time in 2011, you were already our chief, and you really have brought this department through a lot of changes to where we are today. It's pretty amazing where we are today, and I know you must have been a very good mentor, because now we have another very good chief, Chief Brummingen, that was working underneath you. So I think you've probably taught all the guys that have worked underneath you quite a bit with all of your experience. And yeah, I hate to see you go as well, but I want to know, how did you get away from Eric? Because we do know that's a difficult thing. If you're able to do that, that's pretty remarkable. You're one of, I can count like maybe 3 people I know since I've been around have been able to actually get away. And Eric's looking at like, what are you talking about? But thank you so much for all of your service here to the city of Mason. We appreciate it. And I'm sorry I can't see your wife here. The flag's right in my view. It's very nice to meet you, and I'm sure you've had to put up with a lot of sometimes long nights when he had to work late and different things like that through the years. And it's remarkable, our fire department. I can't say enough. Thank you very, 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 very much. Appreciate it. And I think with that, we didn't call roll, did we? Okay, we need the roll call, please.
Councilmember Chance?
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn? Yes. Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula?
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth?
Yes. And I think that we each have some parting gifts for you, and I'm going to start out. And thank you. Is it on? Yeah. Okay. Thank you again so very, very much for your service to our city and for your service just to the fire department in general, everywhere that you've worked. And so I have the resolution here that Jeff read to you. I'm going to hand that to you. Okay. And congratulations. Nice to meet you. Okay, and I think we have, Tony, do you want to come next with you? Okay. All right, we'll come up one at a time, and then I think we'll probably do a picture, right? Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually wanted to give more, but the bookie said we could only spend so much, okay? And we know who the bookie is, don't we? Okay. City coaster set for you that you can take down to Florida with you, enjoy, and you got both hands full, but we're still going to get you. Good luck. Good luck to you.
Yeah, this is a backup bag because my son thought it was his, and he saw everything in there, and he got a little excited. So, echoing what we said about the golf course, there's some nice stuff in there, memorabilia, so you can take down there. There's some golf balls, and I'm sure the weather down there is going to be a little more conducive to play. So, enjoy that. Again, thank you for everything, and congratulations. Yes, sir. Take care. Take care.
Chief, did I hear that you were heading down to Florida to play golf? Is that right? Are you heading down to Florida to play golf? Is that? Okay. Okay. Well, this is obviously a cutout of State of Ohio cutting board. Mason engraved M on there so that you don't forget where you came from and you always know your way home. There you are, sir. Ma'am. Congratulations. Yep.
This gift is for Mrs. Moore in honor of the sweetness of your service, because you served your husband and you served your family so that he could serve us, and we appreciate that so much. Yes, and now it's your time to serve her. So make her some tea and put her feet up on some pillows so she doesn't have to share her brownies with you, if that's okay. You're welcome. Thank you.
So, Chief, I want to add my congratulations. First off, I didn't say anything earlier because I've known you the least amount of time of everyone in here, so I had to save whatever I knew so I could speak up here, at least for a moment. You're one of the first people I met when I started doing my tours around the city after getting elected. I really appreciated the time you spent with me and all the things you explained to me and all your history here and everything you've done for our city. So thank you. This is a set of the bicentennial coins for the city of Mason. I can tell you how to use those in a very profitable way if you need to know. Goes back to my military days, nothing nefarious. And thank you as well. Speaking of being in the military, I understand the sacrifices that the spouses make. So thank you for all of your service to the city of Mason as well. So thank you, and thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Chief Moore, I didn't give you an opportunity to say anything. Was there anything you wanted to come up and say? We can give you the mic and.
Is that convenient to have a phone?
Well, I'll just say thank you. It's been an honor. It's been a good way to end my career is in coming to a place like this. I didn't do anything by myself. It was, I think, the combination of council wanting some change, administration wanting some change, and the department was willing to make the change, and we did it together. And that's the secret to it all, is working as a team and understanding that you always have to change. Nothing stays the same. And when you want to do it together, you can do it. Nothing is impossible. So, thank you.
Thank you again, Chief. Sincerely, we really appreciate you. Thanks. Do you have some more, Eric? Okay.
Well, if council's willing, this isn't quite as high profile as Chief Moore, but there's another resolution I'd like to ask council to move up on the agenda. Resolution 2022-29 has to do with a gentleman named Santa Claus visiting Mason. If you would like to consider that now, and then we could excuse Chief Moore for being on the nice list, I suppose.
Okay, would council like to move that up? Everybody okay with that? Okay. So I think we have some special guests, right? They're going to come up and help read this resolution in full. Okay. Do you all want to introduce yourselves, or do the council members want to introduce who we have up here?
Sure, I can start. So I have Miss Avery here. She left gymnastics early to get here to usher in Santa Claus, so that's a big thank you to her. And then this is Austin. He is, I don't know, you're telling me this is your 4th or 5th time doing this now? He's pretty stoked about doing it. And then our oldest, Samantha, she can't be with us because she's at softball, because now softball is a winter sport, I guess. So she's at softball, but she is just as stoked for Santa Claus to be coming visiting. In how many days? How many days?
12? No, 12.
12. All right. So that's who we have up here. And then Mr. Stricula, Councilmember Stricula.
All right. Well, thank you, Councilmember Chance. Appreciate that. I have my son, Camden, who's 11, sitting right here, and my son, Bryson, who's 9, sitting over here. So, and they are very excited. They asked me about this a couple weeks ago, if this was going to happen or not. I said, well, we have to do it. So yes, I'm glad that they're here. And it sounds like we need to change that tree lighting countdown to perhaps a Santa countdown. Yes, that way Avery knows exactly when he. Right.
Okay, whenever you're ready to begin.
Whereas it is the intention of Santa to spread Christmas joy to all and to remind everyone of goodwill and selfless giving in the city of Mason and across the world. And
whereas Mason residents are encouraged to participate in the various events and activities happening in Mason with family and friends as part of the 2022 Christmas and Mason season in order to share and spread holiday spirit throughout the community. And
whereas Mason City Council encourages Santa and his 9 reindeer led by Rudolph and his red-nosed, then Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donald, and Blitzen to return to Mason on Christmas Eve. And
whereas it is by the power of those who believe that Santa may visit and bless the city of Mason with Christmas joy and cheer. And
whereas Mason City Council wishes Santa and his reindeer a safe flight.
Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Mason, Ohio, that 7 members elect thereto concurring.
that Santa should visit the household of all of the boys and girls within the city of Mason corporate limits and beyond.
Section 3. That every Mason child has tried their very hardest to be good.
3. That the Mason community continues to share the power to believe.
Section 4, that as we celebrate the season, we keep in mind those within our community that may be struggling without family or in need and provide a helping hand of kindness.
And 5, that this resolution shall be enforced and become effective from and after the earliest period allowed by law.
Past this 12th day of Christmas, 2022. Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho.
Thank you. All right. Very good. Thank you all. I think we have some little special gifts for them, don't we? Let's see. Okay, while they're getting their gifts, let's go ahead and pass this motion. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, any council discussion?
I have 1 ounce of discussion. I mentioned Samantha's not here. Obviously, you got her something. That would have caused a crazy stir at the house tonight.
Okay, yes.
Mayor, I think this is the 3rd year that the Chance children and the Stricula children have read the Santa resolution, and my, oh my, they have grown so much, and they've become such amazing readers. Santa would be so proud. So we're really thankful that they came out, and to their moms who brought them, but I think they didn't hear that. They're out the door already, but their moms had them looking sharp and reading well. Thank you.
Yes, that was great. Okay, thank you. Let's have roll call.
Councilmember Bradburn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey?
Yeah.
Councilmember Grossman?
Careful now. Yes.
Councilmember Stricula?
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth?
Yes.
Councilmember Chance?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Eric, did you have anything else?
I think with that, it's probably appropriate to move on to the next item, just to prove that Mason has been nice. If the mayor, if what we call the 2022 year in review, that I think should prove the point.
Okay, thank you, Eric. A couple months ago, I said to Eric, I was talking about all the wonderful things that the city has accomplished this past year, and I didn't want it to go unnoticed. I know that when this council formed on December 1st, 2021, you know, the city was coming off of still trying to recuperate and recover from COVID, and also some controversy that had been going on. So I was looking forward to how this year would turn out, and it's just really been remarkable. And so I asked Eric if he would work with staff to come up with some of the highlights of some of the things that have happened over this past year, because I think now we need to celebrate. And it turned out there was quite a few things, and I was going to try to just pick out a few, but I thought there's not one thing that's more important than another, so please bear with me while I read this. It's quite lengthy, but I think it's important that all departments get recognized and all the accomplishments that have happened over the past year get recognized, and I want to thank Jennifer. I know Jennifer got this together and worked with staff to get this information together for me, so please bear with me here while I read this. The City of Mason is proud to announce that Mason, Ohio has been ranked the 4th best place to live for families in the United States and the only community ranked in the top 25 in the state of Ohio. This recognition is a result of the City of Mason's continuous commitment to building a culture of wellness in the community that supports active lifestyles for all ages. The culture of wellness does not stop at Mason's complement of amenities. The city has a well-established corporate portfolio of companies in the healthcare, life science, and innovation sectors. This recruitment and company growth strategy has led to the development of public-private partnerships known as P3, and the City of Mason Living Lab initiative that leverages some of the most forward-thinking technologies and solutions, making them available resources for Mason community members. The City of Mason has been awarded the 2022 Healthy Workplace Platinum Distinction for small employers, the highest possible recognition from the Healthy Business Council of Ohio. The Healthy Worksite Award recognizes Ohio employers who demonstrate a commitment to employee wellness through comprehensive worksite health promotion and wellness programs. Applicants are scored on the extent their wellness programs facilitate and encourage employee health, enhance productivity, and ensure a healthy work environment. Mason was one of 95 Ohio employers to receive this award. This year was the largest participation in the city employee wellness program. Approximately 80% of full-time employees participated, with 75% of the employees reaching the top tier. In November, Mason City Council authorized a reduction to the residential and commercial sewer utility rate effective January 1st, 2023. The rate reduction is estimated to have a minimum of $150 annual savings for the residents and $125 annual savings for commercial customers. After the city's water reclamation plant was constructed in 2004, sewer rates were established with annual adjustments based upon usage, growth, and the need to pay off debt used for construction. The sewer rates were paid off earlier than scheduled, which created an opportunity to reevaluate sewer rates, which allowed for a 46% reduction of the minimum usage amount for all residential customers and a 42% reduction for commercial customers. The city continues to make significant investment to the water reclamation plant, one of the most critical services provided by the city. At the corner of Western Row and Mason Montgomery Road, a 70-acre mixed-use development with Dorothy Lane Market as the anchor tenant has begun. This development is ongoing, and projects will continue to come before the Planning Commission and City Council for approval. In September, the 500-acre Mason Research and Development Park, located off Route 741, welcomed the opening of Vega America's 230,000 square foot, 50 million global campus. Vega Americas is a global leader in level and pressure measurement technology for process industries. Vega brings 250 employees to this new location and plans to add an additional 50 more employees. Construction of the Mercy Health Kings Mills Hospital has been ongoing in 2022, and the new 205,000 square foot, 4-story hospital and 2-story medical office building are targeted to open in 2024. The city opened the enclosed 50-meter pool at the Aquatic Center through a partnership with A Matter of 50 Meters, thus growing Mason's culture of wellness with a mission to teach all residents how to be safe in the water. There were 1,200 participants in Swim America lessons in 2022, and 230 swimmers advanced to their next level in their swimming progression. Also in June, Mason Manta Ray Carson Foster made the Team USA national team and competed in the FINA World Championships in Budapest. Mason's Manta Ray program continues its reputation for success. For the first time ever for the City of Mason, they were the Ohio Swimming 14 and under Ohio State team champions. They were named the 2022 USA Swimming Gold Medal Team and ranked the top 20 in the USA out of 3,000 plus teams. They introduced Junior Manta Ray Developmental Pre-Competitive Swim Team and introduced the inclusive City of Mason Manta Rays Championships Group. The Finance Department was pleased to announce that the City of Mason's audit and annual comprehensive financial report for the period ending December 31st, 2021 received the award with distinction from the Ohio Auditor of State. The Mason Police Department received the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies for the 9th time. Several of Mason businesses celebrated milestone anniversaries, including the Manor House celebrated 25 years, Festo celebrated 50 years, Kings Island celebrated 50 years, and the park's international reputation established Mason as an entertainment destination. The Grizzly Golf and Social Lodge celebrated its 50th anniversary. New branding helped mark this significant milestone. Council continues to invest in the Great 18 restaurant and golf course, and with new kitchen and bar area, irrigation, and new golf carts. Mason's first dog park opened up at the sports park, and it was named Palmyra Dog Park. Mason's 17 miles of bike trails were connected to the Little Miami Scenic Trail, the longest trail in the Little Miami Trail network. It is 75 miles long, connecting Beachmont Avenue in Anderson to Springfield. In June, Mason resident David Werner was an equestrian competitor in the 2022 Special Olympic USA Games in Orlando, Florida. The fire department started a pilot program operating a third ambulance during peak hours. That unit continues to operate, reducing the reliance on mutual aid departments and reducing response times. The department expects to operate the ambulance 24/7 in early 2023. The Mason Police Department hosted its first annual Safety Summit program, which provides an educational opportunity focused on several safety-related topics. The city and the Challenger League announced their partnership to build adaptive ball fields at McKeno Park. To date, over $1.8 million have been secured in funding for the project. Mason continues to grow an all-inclusive programming for the community by hosting the second annual World Inclusion Day on October 8th at McKeno Park. This day celebrated the unity of all people of all abilities with backgrounds, age, and race being accepted and treated equally. Mason established a partnership with Capabilities LLC. They are Ohio's largest private provider of career rehabilitation services for people with disabilities. Mason hosted the 2022 Western Southern Tennis Open. This is one of the top 6 tennis events in the country. The police implemented the Axon and Flock systems to improve operations and continue proactive approach to policing. Mason started the Downtown Small Business Initiative, which offers monthly initiatives to highlight the small business community, including expansion of the Yifty gift card program. The Generation Connect group, which is a group of Girl Scouts, come once a month to the Senior Center and do a project or craft together. There's about 10 Girl Scouts and 10 to 12 seniors each month that are involved. The Heritage Festival returned to downtown Mason. Mason enhanced the arts in Mason by offering the Star Wars and Beyond concert to the community, featuring the Southwest Ohio Philharmonic. The design and development work for renovations to the Veterans Memorial has begun in preparation for its 20th anniversary in 2023. Mason provided mutual aid for tornado cleanup in Goshen. The work along State Route 741 has begun and is the second largest roadway project in the city's history. A second cricket pitch was completed at Heritage Oak Park. The fire department is on pace to respond to the most calls in the city's history in 1 year. The department is currently projected to respond to more than 4,800 calls, 300 more than any other year, and 75% of those are EMS related. The staff rolled out the Mason Way 2.0 Employee Leadership and Development Program. Staff developed and conducted a police development program leading to professional development for police personnel and promotions. Council approved a contract with the Center for Public Safety Excellence for strategic planning and community risk assessment services. This work will take place through 2023 and will set the stage to guide the fire department into the next decade. The city hosted the annual Red Rhythm and Boom community event featuring the Reunion of Souls and headliner Smash Mouth. The city partnered with the Mason CDC to grow public and private partnerships, driving the development of the Mason Mile Project, a vision for Mason's downtown. The city is working to develop a partnership with the Mason Arts Council for the future development of a performing arts center. Mason secured a 5-year municipal waste and recycling contract with Rumpke, helping preserve high quality of service at a low competitive rate for the community. The city continues to grow partnerships with nonprofit and other local organizations to enhance services provided by the city, improving the quality of life for Mason residents. The city introduced the new Christmas tree lighting countdown clock to the downtown plaza. Many road improvements continue throughout the city, including the improvement of the railroad crossing at Tylersville Road and Route 42. Several existing businesses expanded their footprint in Mason and are bringing in more employees to the city, increasing our tax revenue, which lessens the tax burden of our residents. These companies include CM Paula Remtech Expansion, Myriad Lab Expansion, Altix Expansion Corporate Headquarters, Atricure Expansion, L3 Harris Expansion, Renovation of Innovation Way, and Festo Internal Build-Out Phase 3. And last but not least, overall debt was decreased by $4.2 million. Now, I'm pretty impressed. I hope that you are too. I think a lot of people just think the city, all you see out front are like the guys who are picking up your brush or your leaves or shoveling your snow. You don't realize all these other things are happening behind the scenes. And we have so much to be thankful for with our staff, with Jennifer, Eric, and all of our department heads, and every single staff person that works for the city of Mason. You can see that they're all very, very busy. And actually, recently at the Employee City Lunch, I heard an employee say, I can't believe how fast this year went by, and I think it's because they're so busy now catching up and getting to do all the things that they couldn't do during COVID. So I, for one, say thank you. I'm very proud of this city. I'm very proud of this work that has gone on for the last year, and I'm very excited to see what's going to happen in the next year to come up. So I just want to give you all an applause. I appreciate you bearing with me to read through that entire thing, but as I said, I couldn't just pick out a few things because I think every one of them are very, very important. So thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to go on to item 7 for the Mason Mile update. Is there someone here to give us an update from the CDC? Yes.
Hello and good evening, Mayor, members of council, and staff. My name is Casey Richards, for all of you that do not know me. I live at 216 Short Street. I'm a board member of the Mason Deerfield Community Development Corporation and am an active volunteer within the Mason Mile Core Team. I'm here this evening to share exciting updates on the Mason Mile project. The Mason Mile project is a community-led, market-driven project. We are honoring our history while building into the future a fresh, healthy, and sustainable place for people to live, work, and play. The Mason Mile project has a core team of volunteers that consist of David Charpentier, Annie Droege, Chris Heim, myself, and administrative staff that includes Sherry Taylor and Sydney Hayes. The Mason Mile project consulting team, consisting of Randall Gross Development Economics, BLDG Branding, and Common Ground Urban Design and Planning, had their initial reconnaissance trip the week of November 28th. They met with about 40 members of the community throughout their meetings with the Downtown Committee of Council, the Project Advisory Council, and the Activator team. At those meetings, the consulting team introduced themselves, their process, their timelines, as well as gathered insight and initial input about the downtown area. The consultants have initiated their inventory and assessments of the existing conditions, have walked much of the Mason Mile area, and have met with some of the businesses and property owners on an individual basis. This is just a starting point, and the consultants will conduct further interviews and assessments of the existing conditions in the coming months. Work will begin this week to inform branding and placemaking by collecting input from the community. Virtual interviews will be conducted over the next several weeks with key stakeholders. We just wanted to thank everyone that has been involved thus far and thank you all as Mason City Council for partnering with us to make all of this happen. We are honored to build on all of the incredible work that has been done over the years and continue to move at the speed of trust. As always, we remind and encourage all of those that are interested in more details on the project to please visit our website at madecdc.org/Downtown Mason Mile. Join our Facebook group, attend a quarterly meetup. The next one is scheduled for February 2nd at 6 p.m. At the American Legion. And last but certainly not least, we encourage everyone to please get involved by becoming a project activator. The success of the Mason Mile project relies on the most valuable asset that this city has, and that is the people that live, work, and play in this beautiful city that I myself am so lucky to call home. We thank you all for your time and wish all of you a happy holidays and a tremendous new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Casey. And with that, there was a letter in our packet that was addressed to me asking for me to confirm the appointment of Councilmember Hackey and Councilmember Stricula as council representatives for the MADE CDC Downtown Mason Mile Project Advisory Council. So I would like to ask council if we could approve that and just say all in favor. Is there anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, we are going to go on to, I believe we're to item number 8, which is recognition of visitors. Is there anyone that would like to come up to the podium and say anything? If you would, please come up and just say state your name and address for us.
Can I give you... My name is Lance Klippinger. I have been a resident of Mason for 25 years. I have a vision for Pine Hill Park. In the next 3 minutes, I would like to share that vision with you. My wife and I wrote an email to the City Council, but it appears to us that you never got to see it, so that is why I'm here. Let me read that short email to you. You'll have a copy of it there. One of the great benefits of living in Mason is having a wonderful park like Pine Hill. I was wondering if the City of Mason has ever seriously considered improving the 2 lakes at the park. I think it has so much potential to be even better. What if the 2 lakes were made into one real lake? They could be connected where the concrete overflow for the small lake is now located. The pathway between the present 2 lakes would be replaced by a beautiful scenic bridge, a coveted location for photographers. While we're at it, why not enlarge the small lake by expanding it into the swampy area where there are existing trails? This would increase the small lake by at least 30%. Some or all of the trails would be lost in the swampy area, but the new larger lake could be seen and enjoyed from the walking path along Foxfield Drive. In addition, the narrow end of the larger lake could be made deeper and enlarged as well. I'm not a fishing expert, but I suspect that a larger, deeper lake would be good for fishing. As I understand it, the stream was primarily dammed up, not to beautify the park, but to deal with the problem of flooding downstream. But now we could transform the very nice retention ponds and make one lake that is the jewel of Mason, even rivaling the VOA Lake in beauty. Of course, not in size. I mentioned the VOA Lake because it's what inspired me. I worked in Westchester and got to see that lake being created. I've never seen a lake created before. That was pretty amazing. And so it got me thinking about Pine Hill. That's my favorite park in Mason. I think it's the front door of Mason, and I like to see it made even better. And I have some pictures here to explain the images. The biggest thing would be that get rid of the pathway between the two lakes, put a bridge there. Just a lovely bridge, and it would just really make that park sing. The lake will never be huge, but what's neat about its setting is that you think it could be big. The VOA lake, you see the size of it right there. You just stand there, you know how big it is. But you don't see that. It's kind of a mirage at Pine Hill. It could almost like be a river. And just kind of making that park even better. It's my favorite park, and that's what I love about Mason are the parks. And just want to get this seed planted in hopes that maybe one of you would think about it. I guess my question was, initially, has the city council ever considered improving the lakes? Do any of you know?
Kurt, do you want to answer that question for him? Has that ever been considered?
Well, I guess we did improve them probably 8 years ago. The small lake actually has a larger, a deeper area on the upstream end of it, and then there's a kind of under the water, there's a small dam there that is made to collect the sediment, so it's easier to keep clean.
Okay.
And then we redid the dam, the overflow for the main lake.
Right.
Probably in 2004 or sometime in there. And that was really for the secondary overflow, that flatter area that's off to the west side of where the dam is.
Yes.
And that was improved as well. So we've done improvements to both lakes over the years. I don't necessarily see a benefit other than what he's saying about the scenic view of combining the two lakes.
Okay.
But it would be, like Jennifer's email back at a cost, be some significant cost to what you're proposing there. So.
Sure. But Mason's
Well, thank
got
you very
money.
much. We
Yeah.
appreciate your suggestion.
Okay.
We'd love to hear suggestions like that. Would anyone else like to come to the podium? Please state your name and your address, although I think we know who you are.
That sounds scary. Yeah, I'm Randy Stegbauer, 5358 Hidden Creek Circle. I guess the first thing I want to kind of bring up is I love the idea of a Mason Arts Center. When the first time I heard it, I saw the presentation here, I don't know how many years ago now, it was just blew me away. But now we're just kind of fighting over its location, and that's the big thing. And I'm actually glad that it stopped considering the original location. And in the one spot that I keep thinking about, and I've mentioned that to some of you, I think, is the soybean field between here and downtown. I know you don't own that. Somebody else owns it. It's not for sale. That's what I keep hearing. But it just seems like such a perfect location that it needs to be fought for. Because that location is big enough and close enough to town to support the downtown area. And so, the only thing I was thinking of is maybe consider giving the current owner naming rights or something like that. Give her, some additional incentive to allow us to buy it. I love all the new bike paths you guys put in. I love riding my bike around town, and I'm gonna be thrilled to get on those next year. Can't get them on them this year anymore. And then in that same venue, me and my wife walk all over Mason, through Pine Hill, all around here. But now when it gets into the wintertime, when the snow comes and the ice comes, the one thing that needs improved is not clearing the road. You do a great job at that. But clearing the intersections and the sidewalks, especially near the intersections. We always find that we're always stepping over ice or heaven forbid, needing to walk into the road to get through the intersection. And that's just dangerous, especially at my age. Anyway, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Randy. Where is the soybean field you're talking about? Are you talking about right next door? Or?
Yes, the one right,
okay,
right
okay.
door here.
Gotcha. I just want to make sure I was correct about that location.
Sometimes it's soybeans, sometimes it's corn.
Okay. Okay.
And it's going to be sad when that goes away. I love watching that grow every year, but Mason Arts Center, I think, would be an improvement, though.
Thank you so much. Anybody else want to come up to the podium? Yes, please come up.
Hi, I'm Minda Bauer Cornett. I live at 5083 Concord Hill Circle. Watching the introduction of the chief made me remember something, and I wanted to praise the fire department and your EMS people. My late husband passed away in 2018, but while he was at home ill, he kept falling, and there was no way I could pick him up. All I had to do was pick up that phone and dial 911 and ask for a lift assist. And where we're located, we're really close to the fire department. They were always there quickly, joked around with him, made him feel better. They were wonderful. And I don't know that they get praise for a lot of the jobs that they do that some people just don't know they do. So I wanted to thank them personally for that. And also the reason I came tonight was to hear the report on the Mason Mile. So now he's encouraged me to try to get back into it again. I came to a few meetings and got into a bunch of other stuff. And so I'm hoping that perhaps the February meeting I can make it to that and get involved again. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it, and we appreciate you coming up and talking about your experiences with the fire department. Is there anyone else that would like to come to the podium? Yes, please.
Hello, I'm Lucy Ginther, music director and conductor of the Mason Symphony Orchestra. I am so pleased that Mason is number 4, going for number 1, and we'd like to be part of that. We had a presence at Makino Park for the World Inclusion Day, and then very soon after had a sensory-friendly children's concert, a tradition we would like to continue and build upon. Family concerts, children's concerts, something for everyone. We also have an opportunity for young people to work shoulder to shoulder with professionals. And so we have a lot to offer the city of Mason, and Mason also has a lot to offer the orchestra. I might say that something that I haven't said already would be really good. Anyway, we are committed to bringing the highest level of artistic talent and things to Mason, but also, as you well know, Mason is a hotbed of world-class minds and talent, not just in the sciences and the sports, but also in the arts. And part of our tradition will be promoting and spotlighting and celebrating the artistic talent of the Mason and Warren County areas. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Would anyone else like to come up? Yes, please.
Good evening. Jennifer Benson, 7674 Misty Springs Court. Wanted to speak in support of the orchestra as well. We have lived in the Deerfield Mason area for 22 years. And in 22 years, we've gone down to the Symphony Orchestra in Cincinnati one time. It is a pain in the behind to find a parking spot down there. It's expensive. I am not a fan of driving downtown. But in the last year, I have been able to come to 4 concerts. And the fact that they are right here in Mason, easy to get to, and the level of professionalism and talent that they have is amazing. I'm never going to have to worry about going to downtown again. So any support that you can give to the orchestra, I know would be extremely appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Anyone else like to come up to the podium? Yes.
Hi, I'm Jim Streckfuss. I'm at 4305 Townside Court in Mason. And I'd like to just echo the comments that have been made already about the Mason Symphony Orchestra and add one more note of support to that. In an earlier life, I served several years as a business liaison for the state of Ohio, and I know from that experience how much the business community looks for arts and cultural opportunities in a community when they're looking to relocate or looking to expand in an area. And an asset like the Mason Symphony Orchestra, I think, can only add to the quality of life here in the city. And I believe that council's support for this organization is going to be vital for the future of the city as well as for the future of the symphony. And I'm grateful for the ordinance that's being proposed here tonight and that it will be voted on shortly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to come up? And I'll just remind everybody, if you do think of something, we do have another recognition of visitors toward the end of the meeting if you would like to come back up then. Okay, we're going to move on to item 11, which is ordinance 2022-120. I need a motion to read by title only, please.
So moved.
All in favor? Yes. Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff?
Thank you, Mayor. Did those kids leave already?
Yeah, then.
So I guess okay. I'll read the rest of them tonight. Thanks. Ordinance 2022-120, approval of the Alberta Section 4 replat.
Okay, Kurt.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. Let's see. Okay, this is the Alberta subdivision replat. It's actually a replat of an open space lot A in Section 1 being replatted as Section 4. This is really for this area shown in blue, which is a sanitary sewer easement needed for the adjacent project. This went to Planning Commission December 6th and is recommended for adoption of ordinance 2022-120.
Okay, all right, thank you. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading. Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, a motion to adopt. Okay, any council discussion? Okay, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula?
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth?
Yes.
Councilmember Chance?
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn?
Yes.
Okay, item 12, ordinance 2022-121. A motion to read by title only, please.
Second?
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Jeff?
Accepting the public improvements for Ambleside Meadows, phases 3D and 6, and releasing the performance bonds.
Okay, Kurt?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. These are the last two sections, if you can believe it, in the Ambleside Meadows subdivision. This is located on US 42, just north of the Mason Sports Park area. This includes Stonemark Court, Eagle Hill Court, and a southern portion of Acadia Lane. We have inspected these, and then upon acceptance, this will become our maintenance. However, we do, when we release the performance bond, have a one-year maintenance bond. So with that recommendation, ordinance 2022-121 is recommended for adoption, and I'll answer any questions that you have.
Okay, thank you, Kurt. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any council discussion? Okay, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula?
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth?
Yes.
Councilmember Chance?
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn? Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Okay, item 13, ordinance 2022-122. A motion to read by title only, please.
So moved.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff.
Accepting the public improvements for Mason Research and Development Park and releasing the performance bond.
Okay, Kurt, I think you have this one too.
Yes, this is also acceptance, and this is really for the first portion of the Mason Research Parkway. That's the roadway off of 741 near the new roundabout at 741, just south of the Avalon Farm subdivision. So the Vega Americas facility is located right here, and they built the first 1,000 1,200 feet of roadway there, and the sewer and water that went along with that. So again, this was inspected. Upon acceptance, this will become our responsibility, and we are recommending contingent on a 1-year maintenance bond, and this would also include releasing the performance bonds for the project, with the exception of the incomplete items. There's a few minor outstanding items on the project. So with that, ordinance 2022-122 is recommended for adoption.
Okay, thank you. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? I need a motion to adopt.
So moved?
Second.
Okay, any council discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Stricula?
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth?
Yes.
Councilmember Chance?
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn? Yes. Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Item 14, ordinance 2022-123. I need a motion to read by title only, please. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff?
Establishing the salary administration plan, providing for consideration of increases in compensation on an annual basis, and granting a cost of living increase.
Okay, Jennifer, I think you have this one.
Yes, Mayor, members of the council, if you don't mind, I'm going to cover ordinance 2022-123 through 126. Each year, as part of the annual budget process, the Employee Relations Committee meets to discuss annual compensation for non-union employees. That compensation for non-union employees is applicable to those employees who are in good standing with the city. It was established a number of years ago to provide a system of compensation that took into account inflationary increases, market trends, as well as performance of the employees. There are 3 components to our program. There's a COLA, merit, and a special merit. The COLA increase reflects inflationary market trends as based on a percentage and goes into effect the first full payroll in January of each year. It is also used to adjust hiring ranges for the city. The Employee Relations Committee is recommending a 3% increase for 2023. The merit component consists of performance evaluations that are done on employees, and then a formula that is used to group all those evaluations together. A formula is derived to apply a dollar amount to employees for their merit increase. The percentage that's seen in the ordinance is for the total payroll that is used to capture the funds for the merit pool. Individual merit increases, again, is an employee actual defined dollar amount and not a percentage. This ensures that a consistent dollar amount is reflective with employees who are providing exceptional effort and services across the organization, whether it's a manager, a supervisor, or frontline staff. The Employee Relations Committee is recommending performance merit increase pool of 3% of total payroll. Special merit, again, is a set dollar amounts based on employees' work towards city's core values, special project, as well as other ways employees are having an impact on operations or commitment to the community. The Employee Relations Committee has recommended $100,000 be allocated for the special merit bonus. A couple things I'd like to point out as part of the discussion. The Employee Relations Committee did recognize the economic environment that we're currently under and the impact of inflation that's faced by employees and their families. Vacancies throughout the organization and the impact on operations, as well as the importance of recognizing efficiencies, workload, and accomplishments and commitment to Mason's mission. A couple of items I want to point out in the legislation as well. Annually, there are often hiring ranges for a position or positions in the organization that need further adjustments to remain competitive in the recruitment process. Those are taken care of in this legislation. This legislation also continues both the city's executive leadership package and the wellness program that I believe the mayor mentioned earlier as part of her discussion. Just a reminder that COLA increase also is used to adjust user fees and charges for services throughout the city. I just want to clarify that the COLA increase this year does not apply to the sewer rates. Council already took care of the reduction of sewer rates for residents at a previous council meeting. The COLA increase is used to adjust compensation for city's legal counsel. Those changes are reflected in Ordinance 2022-125. Ordinance 2022-126 provides compensation to municipal court employees based upon a recommendation for the municipal court judge. The city is responsible for processing payroll for court employees. This legislation is needed to establish maximum amounts paid from both the general fund and the court's special funds, and in order for the city staff to process court payroll. The municipal court's judge is recommending a 4% increase to the maximum salary for each position. I will remind everybody that municipal court revenue and expenses have remained relatively stable over the past several years, and there still remains several vacant positions in court that they have indicated there is no intention to fill. With that, the Employee Relations Committee is recommending ordinance 2022-123 through 126 for adoption. Don't know if any members of the committee would have any comments to add.
Okay, thank you. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading. All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, a motion to adopt. Okay, any council discussion? Okay, call the roll.
Mayor Spaeth,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula.
Yes.
Okay, item 15, ordinance 2022-124, a motion to read by title only, please.
Moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff?
Repealing ordinance 2021-117 of the City of Mason, Ohio, and establishing hiring compensation ranges for City of Mason employment positions.
Okay, and Jennifer's already discussed this. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading. Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Okay, any council discussion? Okay, call the roll.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn, yes. Councilmember Hackey,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth.
Yes. Item 16, ordinance 2022-125. I need a motion to read by title only, please. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff?
Modifying the contract for legal services with Wood and Lamping LLP to provide for updated compensation.
Okay, again, Jennifer's already discussed this one. Motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, a motion to adopt.
Second.
Okay, any council discussion? Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance.
Yes.
Okay, item 17, ordinance 2022-126. A motion to read by title only, please.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Jeff?
Amending ordinance 2021-119, establishing the positions and rates of compensation for employees of the Mason Municipal Court.
Okay, again, Jennifer has discussed this one. A motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Okay, any council discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Hackey,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn.
Yes.
Okay, item 18, ordinance 2022-127. I need a motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff?
An ordinance authorizing the supplemental appropriations of monies, therefore amending the annual appropriation ordinance number 2021-125 of the City of Mason, Ohio, passed by the Council of the City of Mason, Ohio on November 29, 2021 for the year 2022.
Okay, Eric, I think you have this.
If council's willing, I could address the next three ordinances together. They all deal with finances, both housekeeping as well as the annual appropriation ordinance. The first two ordinances, 127 and 128, are basically housekeeping. I always try and figure a way to make these simple and more interesting, and I always fail. But what these are is basically at end of year, Our finance director needs to kind of clean up budget line items. He deals with over 1,000 line items. And what you have before you is somewhere around 18 to 20 different line items that need addressed. Two ways of addressing those is a supplemental. You have to consider there's a variety of funds that the city works with. The supplemental is, it can be adding, it can be lowering amount in those appropriation ordinances to reflect things like TIF activity, federal grants, to make sure that those are in budgetary compliance for the auditors. And then there is also the reappropriation, which is essentially saying out of all those different line items, there are some where maybe more was spent than was anticipated, but there are also some where less that was spent than was anticipated, and making sure that those are then covered. That brings all those line items into compliance. The type of things, just to give you a flavor, not to bore anyone, mention the TIF, setting aside funds for the TIF that then will be repaid back, grant funds, federal funding that was received and utilized for different projects. A significant item here is a transfer to the Capital Improvement Fund of $20 million. That is actually a very positive thing where we're able to move money into capital to pay for future investment in the community. There are also very minor items, such as in municipal court, where $3,825.45 needs to be moved into another fund. Court has the ability to transfer excess funds from some of their specialized funds into other accounts. That accounts for some of these. Jennifer had mentioned, and we have talked about the significant activity in sewer. There are transfers in sewer to allow us to both accomplish the rate reduction as well as to establish operating and capital reserve funds to allow the utility to continue to operate safely with those reductions. If anyone's still interested, I could give some more examples, or I could move on to the annual appropriation ordinance. So 128 is those ordinance 128 is those other items I mentioned as far as a reappropriation. Some of them are overlap of what I mentioned. And there are some others that reflect some rather minor amounts to move between the funds. Ordinance 2022-129 is the annual appropriation ordinance, or the budget. This is activity that kind of somewhat monopolizes department's attention here in the last couple of months in the year, and requires significant input from the Finance Committee, but not exclusively the Finance Committee. Employee Relations, the Golf Committee also meet, and some of the recommendations they make that council then acts on, like the compensation items that Jennifer covered, then kind of fuel into that budget process. So I want to cover this briefly, but there is a significant amount of work this year, somewhat uniquely to previous budget years. The Finance Committee did spend some considerable effort on the sewer rate study, and at our last meeting was able to accomplish the impacts of that by making the rate reduction. That was significant to the budget process, certainly for utilities, but how the entire budget was structured. If there is a theme to the budget, and there's always a lot going on in this, but I would say this year, typically, the city spends a lot of time and attention on investment in capital. And that continued this year, but the theme I refer to is needing to spend more time on the operating side. Find ourselves very busy, very occupied with a lot of projects, and needing to pay attention to the staffing, the kind of human resources to make sure those continue to be available and sustainable to accomplish the capital. So there was a somewhat intentional effort to hold the line, use this year as an opportunity not to expand too aggressively capital investments, but to catch up on several of the projects that have been budgeted, some for several years, but have not had time to do that. So we kind of simplified that to say it's less about the dollars this year as it's about the time, and needing to put aside resources to make sure we're situating our organizational structure to have the staffing capacity to accomplish the level of activity, both on capital and operating, that the city has advanced to. Important to remember that the budget and the dollars here are really at their core a planning document. They do not bind council either to do or to not do projects. The city is fortunate with our conservative budgeting that it does leave open a very flexible document to account for changes as well as new opportunities that advance. So this is a plan. It is not it does not bind council to these decisions. Briefly want to mention there is still a significant investment, over $36.7 million anticipated towards capital projects. And without exhausting that list, but some of the significant ones is continue to advance the State Route 741 improvements that have been going on for several years. There's $8.75 million for what Kurt likes to call the GAP project. But to tie all of those improvements from 71 to the North Corporation line with a continuous improvement there that is timed with different grants, that is the single most, the largest capital investment in the 2023 budget. But there are also things such as State Route 741 streetscape and paving program. They're on the part immediately adjacent to 71 to continue that beautification. This project that I had mentioned, the extension of Central Park Boulevard, has been awaited for several years, have not had the staff time to really move forward. 2023, we expect to make that a priority to finish that project. Lift station upgrades at Willowbrook and David Lane drainage improvements. Down to some of the smaller items here at the community center, looking at the women's locker room to refresh some of the shower facilities there, replacing 2 tornado sirens. Also within the budget is, I think, a significant investment into the golf course, the infrastructure, continuing with allocating funds and how these may be combined in future years to accomplish improvements to the bunkers, the tees, drainage, the greens. Irrigation was a significant investment that is coming to a conclusion, and now looking at the quality of some of those. Excuse me. Also looking at improving some of the restroom facilities by extending sewer to those, anticipating in future years being able to upgrade the restroom facilities that are on the course, as well as other things such as dredging the pond and increased maintenance there. Some of the fairways and culverts that need attention will all be investments. A couple of projects that we kind of called on the bubble. The funds are allocated, not certain there will be time for those, but looking at Heritage Oak Park design of improvements to lay the groundwork for making some of the significant investments council has anticipated for some years into Heritage Oak Park. Equipment is one item that I think is worth mentioning simply as a success story over the last several years. The city is now in a position where we have set aside enough funds that we feel very confident that funds are available should all of the equipment that is scheduled to fail, choose this year to fail, there are funds available to replace those. However, that's not likely to happen, so we're able to maintain and start to equalize out how much we budget each year towards equipment. So we're kind of self-insured to that extent that we have enough set aside should the worst happen, and we can continue to level that out. But a couple of equipment items that are worth mentioning include within the fire department, replacement of the fire tower, a new medic unit, as well as outside of fire, a small sweeper, a portable stage, look at replacing that, as well as portable restrooms and some golf course equipment. Some of these are significant because we're discovering, and we hope this improves, but the order time frame, while we're talking about them in next year's budget, that doesn't mean we expect to see them within next calendar year. They may not be delivered for 2, maybe even into additional years. So it's become a bit more important, as well as a bit more fortunate that we have that set aside to allow us to be flexible, to order things well enough in advance that they can be here when they're actually needed. Given the success of that, I always like to mention, this has been one of our priorities for several years now and should continue to be, is the city's resurfacing program. We're trying to take the success of that equipment program and replicate it in a much larger and more complicated fashion with the resurfacing program. What is budgeted in 2023 is, for that calendar year, anticipating $1.5 million for the annual street program, but we also have another $1.5 million as a potential alternate. But in reality, what is available because of that set aside is a total of $12 million. We're hoping to replicate the same notion as the equipment, continuing to set some aside each year, trying to build that balance so that we reach the point where we have kind of a level budgeting. Some years, and resurfacing is a commodity, so it can it can fluctuate each year how much those bids are. And the roads that we choose to take on or that need to be taken on sometimes can be significant when you look at some of the major thoroughfares. So this, we hope in time, will set us up so that if there's a need in a given year for a $6 million, Tylersville Road resurfacing, that we can choose the market correctly, that we have the funds set aside that we'll be able to take advantage of those without, over-impacting a single budget year. And then I mentioned personnel. There was a lot of discussion, attention from the Finance Committee. The city continues to have several vacant positions, as we have had for many years, but also feeling like I think everyone in the nation is feeling is those staffing resources become much more precious, much more difficult to establish, and much more significant in places like the city of Mason. So there's a lot of attention given to an emphasis on staffing, both recruitment, retention, development. Funds were set aside, excuse me, for such things as expanding fire staffing, but knowing that we can't attack that necessarily the way we have in the past by simply saying what an ideal firefighter looks like, what qualifications they have, go out, recruit, and hire them within our pay range. So the dollars were set aside to look at more creative, aggressive ways that we may need to grow that talent pool. So that may be things like internships, job shadowing, adjusting our qualifications and giving some, if you come, we'll train you to a point where you can be a full firefighter. And there may be other opportunities there that, we can be more creative there. Similarly, funds were included to pursue a more dynamic workforce outside of fire. We foresee the need to grow fire staffing. We need to be more aggressive throughout the city in how we recruit and replace some of these folks. So part of that are funds to similarly grow the workforce, but that may be done in ways that includes maybe privatizing some positions that we've tried to do in the past. It may be promoting positions, retitling positions, trying to hold on to the experience we have, such as Chief Moore, but not at the expense of that being a bottleneck to grow new staffing resources. As well as part-time, trying to make sure we maximize our reliance on part-time with more consistent coverage. And finally, funds set aside to improve the work environment and look in our employees to try and develop how they may be more attractive to recruit as well as retain employees. The budget continues to be undergirded by extremely conservative revenue estimates. Simply put, we try and take a couple years below our growth revenue trajectory to anticipate revenues a little bit below that, and then we try and take our expenses and look at those worst case scenario. That allows us over the course of the year to be very flexible and generally make very aggressive investments into capital like we indicated earlier. So I'm confident the budget is a lot of work, a lot of gratitude to the committees, to council members, as well as departments. I think it remains very prudent, very conservative, but certainly this year's budget is also very forward-looking, looking not just within 2023, but looking out into the future, how to situate the city operationally to continue to be very aggressive investing in capital. It is recommended for adoption.
Okay, thank you, Eric. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Okay, any council discussion? Okay, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula?
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth?
Yes.
Councilmember Chance?
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Okay, item 19, ordinance 2022-128. Motion to read by title only, please. Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff.
An ordinance authorizing the reappropriation and transfer of monies and transferring other funds and appropriations for the current expenses of the City of Mason, therefore amending the annual appropriation ordinance number 2021-125 of the City of Mason, Ohio, passed by the Council of the City of Mason, Ohio on November 29, 2021 for the year 2022.
Okay, Eric, do you have anything to add? I'm afraid to ask. Okay. Motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading. Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, any council discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Stricula?
Yes.
Mayor Spath?
Yes.
Councilmember Chance?
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Okay, item 20, ordinance 2022-129. Motion to read by title only, please.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff?
2023 Annual Appropriation Ordinance.
Okay, and Eric has covered this, so a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, a motion to adopt.
Second?
Okay, any council discussion? Okay,
I know that was a lot, and it's kind of funny how he starts off his speech with, "This might be boring," but this is really the nuts and bolts, and you can tell he has a real passion around this with the city. And this is, if you really dove into this thing, and we get, in committees, we get a chance to look at this and understand it pretty darn good. But with our staff and what they do, it's absolutely impeccable. And if you look at how our city is ran, it is truly ran like a business. And it's very, very impressive what leadership is able to accomplish. And so I think that's what, he tries to caveat it as being boring, but there are a lot of proud things that we should be very proud of, a lot of things that are inside of this. And I'd just like to take, all the staff up here, thank you guys for all the hard work that you guys do. I mean, it's, Mayor, I think you mentioned it, before. You see a lot of this, but behind the scenes, what you don't see is what's going into these appropriations and the budgets and all that good stuff. And it's phenomenal, the work that we do. So I just wanted to say thank you and stop trying to play it off like this is boring. This is like you're the little kid in a candy store. So great job.
all right, thank you. Does anybody else have anything they want to add? Okay, let's call the roll.
Mayor Spath?
Yes.
Councilmember Chance?
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula?
Yes.
Okay, we're to item 21, ordinance 2022-130. Motion to read by title only, please.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a partnership agreement with the Mason Symphony Orchestra for performances in 2023 in an amount not to exceed $75,000 and declaring an emergency.
Okay, Jennifer, I think you have this one.
Yes, Mayor, members of council, I know Dr. Ginther and her team here tonight did a beautiful job explaining some of their work they do. I just wanted to point out that the Arts and Culture Committee has been meeting throughout 2022, seeking opportunities to enhance arts and culture programming in Mason. In 2021, a couple of the members of the committee had an opportunity to attend the holiday concert hosted by the orchestra. And the committee members were so impressed by that performance, they wanted to figure out a way to expand it and be able to offer it to a larger portion of our community. The Mason Symphony Orchestra is a different organization than the SWAP Orchestra Group that hosted this past summer's outdoor concert event. As I indicated, Dr. Ginther is led by her team of volunteers. They perform professional level symphonic and popular classics. Their concerts are currently held at Mason United Methodist Church, and as I indicated just previously, it has limited seating and capabilities for growing the concert and being able to offer it to a wider audience in Mason. The ticket sales from the concert are used to support ongoing sustainability of the orchestra, along with education, outreach, and scholarship opportunities. This past year is the initial step to evaluating the partnership or what it could look like. As Dr. Ginther indicated, they hosted a sensory-friendly concert. This concert aligns with the city's mission for community inclusivity. The city provided complimentary tickets to premier members of the community center, as well as other partner organizations that help promote inclusivity in Mason. Earlier this month, as Dr. Ginther indicated, they hosted their holiday classic. And the city, again, provided complimentary tickets. Council members had an opportunity to distribute some of those during Christmas in Mason on Friday, December 2nd. The Symphony has been an eager community partner wanting to work with the city. As Dr. Ginther pointed out, they came out to our City World Inclusion Day at McKeno Park and had a wonderful audience as well as some wonderful music out there. The Arts and Culture Committee would like to provide an opportunity for more of the Mason community to enjoy this orchestra. In order to host larger audiences, a larger venue is needed and would require additional funding. The city would seek to use these performances to build value into our premier memberships of the community center. In exchange, the Symphony would agree to not only do their performances, but also help support programming for seniors and children. And I think Dr. Ginther talked about that earlier as well. Ordinance 2022-130 authorizes a partnership agreement with the orchestra that includes at least 3 performances throughout 2023. I know that Dr. Ginther and her team did seek out different venues for these performances. They found some difficulty in securing locations and finally were able to secure Great Wolf Lodge. They're looking to currently, they are I can't even talk anymore. 2 events that they're planning one is for February and one is for May. Because of the need to secure the venue, the emergency clause has been included in this legislation. Just want to say, in order to further arts and culture in Mason, collaborating with local organizations such as Dr. Ginther and her group, as well as SWAP, it provides the most efficient and effective avenue for doing so. There's a tremendous amount of technical knowledge and setup skills that are needed for securing stage, lighting, sound equipment, acoustics, as well as just the logistics and coordinating between all the participants, that really the city staff does not have that expertise. By providing these groups the financial support, the city uses the most efficient and effective means to bring cultural program to the community. With that, ordinance 2022-130 is recommended for adoption. If the Arts or Cultural Committee members have anything to add, feel free. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Okay, any council discussion? Yes.
Yes. I guess I'm a little confused here. I went into your articles of incorporation, and it says, creation of a regional community orchestra to perform as the official resident orchestra of the Mason Regional Center for the Arts. That is your...
I'm sorry, ma'am, you're going to have to come to the podium if you're going to answer the question, and I'll allow it for you to go ahead and answer that.
Probably ought to have my lawyer. So when the Articles of Incorporation a year ago were written, that was the wording. The shape and the size of the thing has changed since then. We started with a certain concept, and the thing took on a life of its own, and it's grown, and it's become a professional organization. And I suppose we should probably change that wording in the incorporation, but we have our 501c3, and that's all kind of set. So I'm not even sure what that process would be to change that wording, but the wording is a little misleading at this point.
Okay. To the committee, did you guys get a budget from them? Do you have a budget?
We can provide you with a budget. Be happy to.
I was never provided a budget.
Sure.
Okay, and I'll be honest, until I see a budget, I can't approve it.
Okay.
Okay? And I think that's the prudent way of all of council, to be able to see the budget. Now, maybe the committee had it, didn't bring it. Anybody, I realize that the vice mayor's not here, and it's unfortunate. Ashley,
Okay, it's not appropriate to go back and forth with each other. Do you have anything else you want to comment on? You said you want to see the budget, okay.
I think we need to see a budget.
Absolutely no problem. Yes, essentially for 4 concerts. Yes. I'm sorry, is it what? Yes, exactly. Now, I can also bring in Jefferson Starship for $25,000 later this summer, if anybody likes them. I'm crazy about them. But there are all kinds of things that can be done. Shows like Smash Mouth, yes, they cost a lot. And so, would you like me to kind of give you an overall view of the budget at this point, or would you want it in writing? You can absolutely have it in writing.
Okay, thank you. Do you have anything else? Anyone else want to comment?
And then apparently, if I can, as I've read the write-up, in your previous concerts, you sold tickets and that money would remain with your organization?
Yes, it has. So we are able to present these concerts at a little bit of a discount to other organizations who might do the same thing. We are charging for these concerts a nominal. We've been told that it's a lot for what we're charging. The audience gets a lot. Everyone seems to be very happy. And so at this point, what we are doing is paying our professional musicians. Yes, we started as a community orchestra concept, but by the time I got to my second concert, 2/3 of my musicians were union musicians. I've been a union musician since I was 22. I need to pay my people. And the other thing is that we came right off of COVID. Everyone was so excited to be playing after COVID, and lots of other things had not gotten started. To keep the level and to keep this quality of service and musicianship, we do have to pay them. Yeah. And so that runs, say for our February concert. Salaries of musicians, which is always your largest single line item, except in this case our Great Wolf Lodge is a significant outcome, is about $8,000 for my musicians. And then $5,000 for the lodge, $3,000 for a stage that actually works for an orchestra, lighting and sound. So you can see that it adds up pretty quickly. You got it in writing, you bet.
Okay. Okay, anybody else have any comments that they want to make? Yes.
Hi, is it Dr. Ginther?
Yes.
Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for your passion for the arts. And you're a musician, I understand?
I am.
And a conductor. And what is your instrument?
I'm a violist. My doctorate is actually in viola performance, and I have been conducting for the last 15 years. And a lot of these people that are in the orchestra have worked with me. That's how I got the pros.
Oh, great. That's great.
Great folks. They're great folks, great players.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your enthusiasm and interest in Mason. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
So this wasn't on my list of questions, but I am just curious. So you have union musicians that would take prevailing wage, require prevailing wage. Is it a bit of a faux pas for a union musician to volunteer to play?
And there's the question, isn't it? Yes, I mean, people could not believe that all these pros were coming to play as volunteers last year. They did it to support us, to support the starting of the orchestra. They did it because they saw Mason as a good investment. I had that said to me over and over.
Great. Okay. Well, all right. I do have a list. I'm not on the committee, but I have been a member of the arts since I was a little kid. Different formats. So I've still engaged as a member of the arts, and sometimes it's not real glamorous. I've been a parent of children in the arts and a volunteer. I've gotten many burns from glue guns and splinters from set building, volunteering, that kind of thing. And
sure. There's a lot of work behind it.
Yeah, and a choreographer once gave wise advice when we were rehearsing for a show at Kings Island when I was a teenager. she said, never tell anyone that you can tumble or sew. So remember that. That's important. So I didn't do a lot of sewing, but I did tell people I knew how to use a glue gun. But there are mothers who sew until their fingers bleed for children in these organizations. And
Takes a lot of people to get a show running.
Does. For every 1
Does.
minute on stage, there are 100 hours of preparation.
Absolutely.
And I know that because I've lived that. And so I had a list of questions, and I humbly ask for council's patience and for yours. One of the concerns I had is that I guess council has been meeting with members from the Mason Symphony Orchestra's organization throughout 2022, and we've gotten council committee reports about your events that you've held, and this isn't your fault, but council never, the committee members never reported to council that they were considering a partnership of this magnitude or a funding of this magnitude. And while $75,000 kind of sounds like a good deal for the three events that are mentioned in the memo, there are dates for 2.
There'll actually be 4.
They'll actually be 4. Okay. The memo gives us February 11th and May 13th, but
there'll be another sensory-friendly children's concert in the fall, and once again a holiday concert.
Oh, okay. Oh, great. Okay, so how many pieces do you typically have in your orchestra per event?
Last May we did Rhapsody in Blue. We did a world premiere of Tim Barron's Rhapsody in Blue, Triple Wind Edition. We had 75 musicians on stage. For the children's concert, you don't really need or want as large forces. You know, we want the children to experience the orchestra but not be overwhelmed, and be interactive. And then for the Christmas concert, there were more, and we also work with the Mason Community Chorale and the Hallelujah Ringers. And we have Santa, and we kind of do a little extravaganza kind of thing. And so for that, there were 50 musicians on stage with 30 choir members. And that's about as many as we can fit, you know, into the Methodist Church. In February, it'll be a larger venue, a larger setting. That's the intent. And that's kind of what we were very thankful that the council moved up the vote so that we could kind of get things going as far as we don't want to lose Great Wolf, or, you know, there are things that have to be done. We can't do it 2 weeks ahead of time. But so that will be a larger orchestra. May will once again be the 75-member orchestra. So we kind of have a rhythm to this thing.
Okay, so so will these 4 events that you're describing, will those be paid ticket events and payment goes to Mason Symphony Orchestra, or are those free to the public?
At this point, we have been charging. We've not moved into a new model. We're happy to shape that in any way that the city would like for us to. The model for the 75 included some ticket sales. And so that was just part of that model. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, so your expectation is you'll probably use the same model unless you negotiate something different.
Unless there's a compelling reason not to.
Okay.
Audiences who go to symphony concerts expect to pay something.
Sure.
You know, but they also understand that, if you get 40% of your, my cognate area in the doctorate is arts administration. So I know what all this is supposed to look like, and I know, I've been a professional musician since, like I say, I was 22, and in all over the world, I've seen organizations thrive and fail, and it's never about money that an organization fails. It's always philosophy. It's always other things. But I think I've strayed from the original question.
That's really good. Okay, I might pivot. Please don't go away in case I have another question. Mayor, thank you for allowing us to ask Dr. Ginther directly That's a really big help because I haven't been present for the committee meeting, so that really does help. So I read the memo and I've read the ordinance, and I've heard Mr. Bradburn's question, which is, we don't know what their annual budget looks like. When we normally enter partnerships and service agreements with other nonprofit organizations that provide some type of community service, we cap it at $8,000, and they're required to do a $2 to $1 match, or to prove that they have a $2 to $1 match in their accounts. And many of them have been around for decades. And as you know, Mason has some wonderful arts organizations that have also been around for decades, like Mason Community Players. They've been here since forever. Royal Theater Acting Up is a great organization, and there are others. So here's my concern for the committee and staff, and this is why I would ask that you guys could go back to committee and present us with a different ordinance and a different partnership that's more specific, because the appearance at first blush for me as an outsider looking at the information we've been given is that the $75,000 is really a type of grant to front the costs of what they want to do for their next season, their 2023 season. And we've never done that for an arts organization before. I'd be very comfortable hiring them to perform a specific service like the model we used with the SWAP concert. Having it be a nonprofit also, and having the need to fundraise in addition to what they would get from the city, and that's mentioned in the memo, they need private funding and public funding they're seeking. I think there's a gray area there of fundraising and having seed money that's public dollars to keep their nonprofit going. And so that's a concern of mine. So I'd like to see a more specific partnership developed and specific language instead of the oblique partnership language in the ordinance that identifies exactly, we're giving you this amount for this concert, and it would be a City of Mason concert that we're hiring them for. Does that make sense? So when we hired the SWAP Orchestra, it was a City of Mason sponsored event, and they were a vendor that provided a service. I'm uncomfortable with fronting the money for it to be all branded as a Mason Symphony Orchestra service. If I had the money, I'd love to give it to you because I'm so impressed, but it's public money. And so my comfort level is not there. But, we hire bands to provide services for us. We've hired symphony orchestras to provide services for us. And then there's that whole thing of, if you're going to be fundraising, and we've seeded that with public dollars, that's tricky for me. So what could we do? What could the committee do to go back, meet about that with MSO, and come back to us in January with a different proposal that's been narrowed in? We could have,
Would you like specific concerts with specific budgets for a proposal that has budgets for specific concerts?
That would be helpful, but it sounds like we're seeding Mason Symphony Orchestra concerts instead of having a City of Mason concert that is serviced by the Mason Symphony Orchestra. Does that make sense?
Yeah, happy to do that.
So does that make sense to you, Eric, our city manager? Because you would be the one that would be facilitating, and Jennifer Heft, you guys both would be facilitating an agreement. To me, partnership agreement in the ordinance is so vague that could be misconstrued, and then we could be accused of being discriminating against other arts organizations that we haven't given seed money to for their production seasons. And their productions are a similar cost, like Acting Up, Royal Theater. I just want to be so careful. And I think it is wise that all council members see their annual budget.
Okay, thanks. Did you have anything else you want to comment on, or?
Yeah, I just want to thank you again.
Thank you very much.
I'm really excited that I got to meet you today, and I'm thankful for the work that you do. I can tell that you're very sharp and connected and experienced, and
thank you.
You know what you're doing. So I just want to,
thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to be as diligent as we possibly can with our public funds. And thank you, council and staff and mayor.
Okay, does any other council members have anything they want to discuss?
Mayor.
In regard to this? Yes, please go ahead. You might want to just stay there in case there's another question.
Yeah, I don't, Doctor, I appreciate it. I'm not so sure that, I mean, there's no specific question I think at her, and part of my, and I'm sorry, part of my ignorance for this, but we've talked about SWAP, and then we've talked about, now we've got the Mason Symphony Orchestra, correct? What is are these just two different organizations that do similar things? I guess I'm not too sure about what the difference is between the two.
The difference, I might say, I think the question you're asking me is what is the difference between us and SWAP? The service that SWAP is providing for Mason is one concert, one evening's enjoyment. What our mission is to provide a cultural asset for the city of Mason, which involves a lot of other layers, educational layers. For instance, in 2 years, we're bringing in the Violins of Hope, which is, are you aware of Violins of Hope then? It's the violins that have been gathered from the camps in Germany, and we get to keep them for 2 weeks and do an outreach to the schools in the whole area. So these are the kinds of things that we provide for the city of Mason. The children's concerts, family concerts, the scholarship competition, which is happening in March, and the winner of that will play on our May concert, one of our very talented high school students in Mason. So it's a different model.
Oh, okay. They're just, okay. I understand. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think I got that now.
Yes.
And I apologize if I've confused the two as we're.
May I relinquish the podium for a moment?
If I may go back for a moment to address Councilwoman Grossman's question. One of the differences between what we're doing now and what the council did with SWAP back in the summer is that the City of Mason provided a venue for SWAP, which when we entered into discussions with the Arts and Culture Committee and with the city staff, the question to us was, could we move to a larger venue and could we obtain a larger venue than the Methodist Church? And so we explored literally every option that was available here in the city of Mason. We went to the larger churches. We went to the Crossroads, which was suggested to us by Councilmember Chance, and it was made clear that that would not be available on any date. We went to Hope, Heritage, to other venues that were larger than the Methodist Church, and none of them were available. We finally settled on Great Wolf Lodge because it would be available to us, but again at a cost, which is why the excuse me, why the amount of $25,000 per concert was arrived at. The other part of the question had to do with the fundraising model, and I think you'll find it typical of symphony organizations throughout the area here and throughout the country, really, that all of them operate on a combination of ticket sales and grants and other funds that become available, contributions by interested parties and service contracts like this one with the city. And so this is not an unusual model at all. In fact, it would be really unusual if it were cast in a different way, if it were a city-funded, if the city funded totally the cost of the concert and made the tickets available free. That would be unusual and departing from the norm in the industry. The other thing, and just to wrap up here really, but the other difference between us and SWAP is that we're a Mason-based organization, and SWAP, if you're familiar with their background, SWAP grew out of the old Middletown Symphony, and as far as I know, they're still based there in Middletown. So we are an organization right here in the city of Mason. We were born here, we grew up here, and we intend to remain based in Mason and focus our attention on the city of Mason. Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Stricula, do you still have any other comments or questions?
Yeah, just a couple. I think some of those were answered. One of the questions I had was if there was additional cost for the locations above the 75,000, but it sounds like that's part of what the 75,000 is for. And then Councilmember Bradburn's question about the budget, I think is valid. I'm sure the committee had talked about it. If we just get, if possible, we can get an update from the, I know the chair's not here, but I don't know if the other two members could fill us in a little bit on that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, yeah.
It's probably more appropriate for either Eric or Jennifer to answer that question, maybe.
As far as, did we get a budget for them? Or
Yeah,
do
just
we know
as you
what
were,
it
as you were
looks like?
planning, as you were planning those things out, the cost of the events, where that $75,000 came from, like why was that number? Why did we land on that number? I guess.
In discussions with Dr. Ginther and what needs there would be in order to host.
For concerts.
Actually, it was 3.
We agreed to 3, but we've done some fundraising of our own, and there will be 4 concerts. The city in the service agreement is requiring 3, but there will be more. Because as we grow and as we develop these things, we'll continue to add value.
I'm sorry, are you finished? Or do you have anything else?
No, I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
One real quick question. Have you had discussions with the Mason Regional Arts Council to be?
I'm so sorry.
Have you had discussions with the Mason Regional Arts Council to be their symphony?
Oh, so that wording is probably also a little unfortunate. When that was aspirational.
Okay.
And when we started, it was also with the idea, the Regional Arts Council, or the Regional Arts Center it looked like, I mean, you're talking breaking ground. At least one of the committee members said those words, and so it seemed to me that was happening pretty quickly, and that it was a logical home for us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Did
Mayor,
anyone else? Yes.
real quick, I want to elaborate on the budget. We did go through a budget, and I think you guys provided a pretty good detailed
Thank you.
understanding of that. And when we come from committee, there's been a lot of things that we've passed up here that we never saw the budget on. Dog park comes to my mind. And we never saw a detailed explanation of what dog park cost. However, looking at the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra, it's funded the exact same way as what we're talking about here, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that was kind of my litmus, and that's what I was looking at.
Yes.
And to, I believe your point, right, driving down to Cincinnati, that's, especially when we have a community that is starving for this. We had a pleasure at Kiwanis the other day. We had the Masons, it was a honors choir, absolutely phenomenal. And I just envision being able to, now don't get me wrong, I can't play the auto harp. So if you guys know what that means, that's like, I can't do any of that, but I really appreciate the arts. I mean, when we had the outdoor concert last August, absolutely phenomenal. And it's something our community is needing. I get it. I understand the questions. We went through the budget. They've performed. They know the cost. We went through that. It's not a willy-nilly thing that we're looking at and saying, throw it up there and see if this is going to work. We did. We had that discussion, and that's where we landed on this number. It wasn't, we weren't just, hoping that that's where it falls. We had those discussions inside.
Right.
And I'm glad to hear that it's going to be an additional, because looking at, through the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra, 70% of their monies is from grants, but they also get ticket sales.
Exactly.
And everything else. So I don't need anything else. I mean, I'm ready to vote on this.
It's a very standard model.
Very standard model. Yeah, we actually even had that discussion.
We did.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, yes.
Yeah, real quick, Mayor, just, I've had the honor of attending 2 of your concerts now, and this is just, like Councilmember Chance said, our city is just desperate for these types of activities. It's our community, I believe someone came up and made a comment regarding businesses making decisions on whether to move in here, to grow in here in our city. The arts is a big factor in that. It is a huge factor, and we've got an opportunity here to start to lay the groundwork and getting a great organization to do some really nice stuff for our city.
Thanks, sir.
I appreciate everything you've done so far.
Thank you, sir.
Very much looking forward to it. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to say, for the 9 years that I've been on Mason City Council, we've always relied on the work to be done in committees, and we've always respected what the committees come back to council and recommend, and that's where most of the work is done, is in your committees. So I have no problem trusting that the committee members of the Arts and Culture Committee have done their homework to try to figure out the best way to approach this. Now, I understand, I appreciate that maybe some council members want to actually see the budget. We can absolutely get that information to you, but I see no reason to delay the vote. I absolutely support this. And if you'll look in the ordinance, it gives the city manager, it says hereby authorized to negotiate and enter into a partnership agreement with the Mason Symphony Orchestra. So I trust Eric to negotiate. He's quite the negotiator on many things. So I think that I have no worries that you're going to use this money inappropriately or anything like that. I have no worries that Eric, he will squeeze you dry if he can. So and
Works for me.
Best of the deal. So I think that I'm in fully support of this tonight, and we can get the additional information that anybody may want. But I do think we need to trust what the committee is recommending. And with that, I'm ready for roll call.
Mayor?
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'd like to ask a couple follow-up questions, please.
Okay.
And make a couple comments. We're allowed to have 2 turns each, for those of you following along at home. So on the fundraising question, if we're entering a partnership agreement with them and we know the specific dates of February 11th, May 13th, and then Dr. Ginther is saying there'll be others that they'll be doing. So this is a Mason Symphony Orchestra concert, but we've spent a certain amount of budgeted dollars on that concert, which we're not really sure what that is because we weren't given that information. Are they permitted to fundraise for their own organization if we have spent public dollars on it? That's a question that I have about the.
May I? We also have an Ohio Arts Council grant. We're up for a Warren County grant next fall to help out with the children's sensory-friendly concert. So the thing to know is that we are not only dependent on the City of Mason. The City of Mason is giving us a leg up and making it possible for us to do these things for the city. But we do not intend to make that our only avenue of revenue.
Okay, well, thanks, because I was going to ask, what are your other revenue sources? But that's my question with the fundraising aspect for them. If they're fundraising at a concert that we've helped pay for in a partnership agreement as opposed to a grant, How does that work?
If we're in a partnership agreement, and I think Dr. Ginther's maybe giving away some of her leverage, so I'm
Oh.
cautious here, but.
Wouldn't be the first time.
I think a couple of points you've mentioned are the branding, and we'll want to talk about branding of the event, how it's
Sure.
labeled, access to it. But like the model we talked about, if they're charging a ticket price, which I would anticipate, and I'm not going to particularly care how those funds are spent from that ticket price if the city is getting the amount of value we expect in return. So translating things like branding, tickets, access, promotions, other services that they may provide to help promote that. We've used the McKeno Park event as an example. Those will all be things on the table. When you say fundraising, I guess I'm not sure what you mean apart from ticket sales. If they're
asking for donations at their events that we've contributed to the cost of.
If they were doing that, if we had negotiated, that event and the branding of it, and then if they were to be fundraising and we felt that watered down, the branding or how we had agreed to, I think that would be an issue, yes. If they had put on the table, hey, we'd like to raise funds for, and I'm making stuff up here, which is dangerous, but for the sensory-friendly event, which would include scholarships that we'd like to share with you or promote through McKeno Park, so somehow
Exactly.
that dovetailed with our mission. I think that would be very appropriate and something that would be on the table, and we could negotiate. So it depends on the service we agreed to. To some of the budget questions, from what I'm hearing, from what we participate in, we've valued a service. And maybe that value's wrong, or maybe council's not comfortable with it. I don't want to prejudge that. But if that event is worth $25,000, Dr. Gunther has now said that that's actually more $20,000 if there's going to be 4 events. So,
Oh, did I say that?
but if we valued at that amount, and I know some of the discussion has been the type of expenses that go into it, what type of coverage, then that's the type of value we ought to get out of it. And frankly, I don't think the city wants to be in a position to be worried or care that they incur additional expenses beyond what we had negotiated. That's on them. So I don't really want to be responsible for their budget, revenues, expenses. I want to be responsible for the service we negotiated to acquire.
Mayor,
Councilmember Grossman, do you still have comments? Yes.
Would you divulge what your grant from the state, your state grant, and then your
The Ohio Arts Council grant,
thank you. Yep.
that was $3,300.
Okay, and then from Warren County or Warren County Foundation?
That's not for this year. That's we applied this year, and they said we were too late for this year's children's concert. Please apply again. That's a $1,000 grant. So that's not something that's, I have a very good grant writer. So I have no doubt that we'll come up with other grants. Dater Foundation, Arts Wave, Procter & Gamble only gives through Arts Wave now. But every dollar we bring in, the whole mission is to add value to what we offer the city.
Right. What other grants or funding and revenue have you received?
Individual contributions in the amount of anywhere from $50 to $1,000.
Could you?
And not so many, just a handful.
Okay.
We're just kind of getting started with all this.
Okay, so we're not close to the 2-to-1 match.
Oh gosh, no.
Okay. I'm going to ask council humbly. I understand the mayor's point about committees doing the work. This is a service agreement in a sense where it adds value to the city, but it's also, and I think we need to be transparent about that. And since the committee never mentioned that they were working on negotiating this, I don't think it's an emergency. I think it could wait for a second reading in January. I just think the public hasn't had a chance to get up to speed on the information about this type of service agreement. The other arts organizations haven't heard about it, I'm sure, unless they read our agenda that was posted. So I think that it is our responsibility to at least have a second reading. It would have been nice to get more information on the specifics of what the committee expects and the council expects with feedback from everybody from the negotiations with the city manager. But I think at least we should have the courtesy for our taxpayers to have a second reading and government transparency on this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Chance, did you have something else to say?
I sit here and listen to this, and I'll keep it pretty simple, but 50 meters, pool, they did a ton of fundraising. If we think about our sponsorships to all the galas, what's the #1 mission when you go to a gala?
I don't see how that's relevant.
The back and forth to
but the
make your
#1
comment.
mission when you go to a gala is to fundraise. So when we sponsor a gala, I'm not walking in there thinking, well, they're not going to be fundraising because we sponsored it. It's just, there's precedent here. We've done it plenty of times in the past. This is something that again, there's even precedent looking into how the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra, I looked into Art Waves, how P&G donates, to be able to, so it's, we've done this in the past in regards to fundraising at an event. I don't know where that came from, but we do it all the time. I mean, 50 Women Walking West, you go to that, and their #1 mission is obviously to raise money when you get there. So,
Mayor?
again, I thank you again so much for coming. Jim, I believe, right? Thank you for all your clarifications on this. Again, we don't need a second reading. I'm prepared to vote on this, so that's my.
Okay, I'm ready for
that's
roll
my
call.
humble opinion.
Let's go.
Councilmember Chance?
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn? Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
I'm so sorry. My heart says yes, but my vote has to be no because we haven't had a second reading. I'm so sorry.
Councilmember Stricula?
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth?
Yes. Okay, we're to item 20.
Mayor, can I?
Yes.
Can
Oh,
I
I'm
just, I
sorry,
just
yes.
want to explain one thing. I know that the ordinance was presented as an emergency. The charter requires 5 affirmative votes to adopt something as an emergency. We had 4 affirmative votes, so it still passes, but the emergency clause is not effective. So the ordinance 130 will not go into effect for 30 days.
All right, thank you. Item 22, committee reports. Does anybody have a committee report? Yes.
In regards to Mr. Richards, Casey Richards did a great job with the CDC. We had a downtown meeting last Thursday, was that the 2nd, I believe? December 2nd, and we had the opportunity to listen to the 3 different firms that the CDC hired in regards to looking at our downtown, and I was blown away in regards to how they're looking at this. They've really segmented this off, and major kudos to the CDC and having the foresight of understanding there's going to be, if there was one firm that could have handled it all, then that would have, but instead, they found some core competencies in 3 different firms that are going to be able to look at, the entirety of it. So that was fascinating. I'm glad we finally got to sit down and understand and learn what they're doing. So that's, I was super stoked about that. And then Casey did an incredible job of kind of giving an update of where we are and all that good stuff. And there is one other thing, if you don't mind. It's not necessarily a committee report, but is it appropriate now to make a motion in regards to Gold Park? Okay. Yeah, I would, well, there's just been a lot of misinformation, I think, in regards to this, our intentions of this council. We've seen it, we read it. And the motion that I would like is move that council commit to maintain the Gould property in its current state for at least the next 3 years, after which time the city should consider a process to include public participation to determine the best use of the property consistent with the terms of the deed restriction and preserving the property for public access and use. Because I think that clarifies everything, that gets it everything out in the open, and we can allow.
I just need to get a second on that before you explain it.
Point of
Sorry.
order, I don't think this is the proper time in the meeting, but I'd like to see the motion. That was so much and so quick. And out of the blue and in an inappropriate time in the meeting.
Well, we can do it during old and new business, it's fine. Does anybody else, we'll come back to that. Does anybody else have a committee report? Nobody else? Okay. All right, let's go to item 23 then, old and new business. So let's go back to your motion. And do you want to make the motion again and get a second so we can discuss it?
Sure.
Okay, can you read it again, please?
I can send this if you'd like. Do we do that all the time? Do we put motions up there? I'll read it out loud real quick. I move that council commit to maintain the Gould property in its current state for at least the next 3 years, after which time the city should consider a process to include public participation to determine the best use of the property consistent with the terms of the deed restriction and preserving the property for public access and use.
Okay, is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Okay, I'm going to allow for council discussion on this. Did you want to explain that more, or anybody have council discussion?
Oh, do you want me to explain? I mean, I just feel like, we've all seen, we've heard them, they've been here, and really the intent is, there's been, I'll keep it light, misinformation about what we're trying to do out there. And I think this motion could solve a lot of issues and really show the intent of what we're trying to do with that property in council. Because, if we're going through committees and, I appreciate you bringing up Pine Hill Park, but we're looking at all these parks. We're talking about, with staff, where staff is right now. I mean, we're just coming out of COVID, and now we are, and I forget how many positions we still don't have filled. I mean, the staff right now is overwhelmed, absolutely overwhelmed, trying to keep up with all of this stuff. And we have a contingency, a group that's trying to basically, with property that we own, there's just some stuff that are being said out there, and I'd just really like to nip it in the bud and say, we have intentions, but I think, to place that on hold for the next 3 years until we can have proper discussions with whatever that looks like. But, with where we are on staff, with everything else that we're looking at, I just think it's appropriate to do right now. And if you want me to send out the motion, I can send it to Lisa. Can you disperse that out?
Okay, is Councilmember Bradburn, you have something?
My understanding is that the administration is in negotiations with the family right now. Is that not correct?
It's, well.
Jeff?
I'm not going to characterize that as negotiations. We've been having discussions with the estate representatives.
Okay. I think this should continue. But to go ahead and put it on hold for 3 years, something stinks.
Oh, I don't think that's not.
It's not.
I'm sorry, I'll wait till my council comments. Does anybody else have anything else they want to say? Okay. Yeah.
Put it to bed.
Question for Jeff. I have more than this, but a motion to bind something for 3 years, is that even, or a motion to hold something for 3 years, is that even binding once council turnover occurs?
I would say it's as binding as any motion that council undertakes.
What does that mean?
That means that a future council could overturn it, undo it, change it. It means this current council could change it. So I guess, that was probably not the best way for me to say it, but it's as enforceable as any other action of council is that takes a majority of council, and it would only take a majority of council to modify it, change it, undo it, cancel it. And that could be this council or a future council, sure.
I heard comments like, there's misinformation, what we're trying to do, as in what we're trying to do, who's trying to do what. Does that have anything to do with the Mason Mile project? Is that who we're is? I'm not sure. But the public needs to be reminded that there was public engagement and a master plan made with the interested party, Mrs. Gould, before her death in 2003 and 2004, and it was approved by council then, and it's older, but it's not that old. I don't understand why we would try to hinder the progress the staff is making with the interested parties, and I'm concerned that your motion, if it were to pass, could be considered some type of tortious interference with the rights of the interested party.
But we own the property.
They own the right, they own the deed restrictions in a sense. They are the interested party. They can take it back from us. We can lose it. And I think we're in an adverse position.
Wait.
And I don't agree with your motion to put it on ice for 3 years. And I don't agree with while it's specific, it's also vague, the context you're adding to it. And frankly, out of the blue, not transparent, you showed every indication that you were going to violate the deed restrictions and move forward with the Arts Center until the public outcry, until we became fully aware of the deed restriction language. And once you were aware of it, members of the committee indicated publicly in the meeting on the plaza and in the newspaper and at these meetings that they wanted to move forward. But I think the pressure got to be so much that we backed out. But I also think we're in an adverse position to the interested parties who can enforce those deed restrictions. And I'd hate to see us lose that beautiful almost 50 acres of property. I am just, my heart is just beating out of my chest that you would bring this up out of the blue and not prepare us and not prepare the many interested neighbors. At least 150 people came to that plaza meeting and cared about it. Sadly, it wasn't on camera. I'm in shock, and I'm just absolutely stunned. And I hope that the people who do want to enforce that deed restriction and contract language will get up to speed on this quickly. And council, I hope that you do not pass this motion tonight.
Okay, I want to explain that I'm the one who had the idea behind this motion because I would like to speak, please. I am tired of seeing things put on Facebook about what this council is doing and not doing and making accusations that we are, I'm not even going to say the words that they describe us, and people that have been on this council before are liking the status of that, okay? And I think it's ridiculous that people take their stuff on social media. I always have. I wanted us to clarify, to tell this group of people that live around Gould Park that we are not going to do anything with Gould Park. We're not going to put an art center on there. We're not going to put a development on there. We're not doing anything with it. Now, was the wording of the motion the best way to do it? Maybe not. Maybe we needed, it was my understanding that just because it said put on hold does not mean that Eric cannot continue discussions with the family. I think those discussions will continue, and they will continue to talk about the deed restrictions so that one day we will be able to do something that the people around that park want done. And if you saw in the budget, we have, what, $25,000 allocated to try to move forward with something on that park. So there's nothing. I asked Ashley, or council member, please over there, I asked council member Chance to make this motion because I want this conversation to stop. Can you please? I want this conversation to stop on social media, that we are trying to do something against these people that live around the park. I think it's ridiculous. We are not trying to do anything. We already said we took the Regional Arts Center off the table for that location, and we're considering another location. Now, okay, we don't have to do a motion, but I want everyone out there to understand we're not going to do anything on that. Do you hear me? We're not going to do anything with that property. We're not trying to be sneaky about anything. Now, okay, we can forget this motion, but I wanted these people to feel like, because actually there was a comment made, council has never made a motion to say that they're going to develop it as a park. I was hoping that this would cover it, but obviously there's a lot of controversy and conflict that goes on here where people can't just discuss things reasonably without making accusations. So I would like to make a motion over your motion and just say, let's drop the motion, okay? Because I don't want to hear anything about this anymore. It's just driving me insane. We're not doing anything with that property. Please hear me. Anybody else have anything for old and new business?
I do.
Okay.
It's actually really good stuff. We've, with the arts and something else in Mason that we're pretty darn proud of. And sometimes they take the schools and the city and they kind of combine them together and think we're one of the same, and we're not. But the sports fall season was extremely impressive in regards here to Mason. First of all, Mason football team for the first time made it to the Sweet 16, which is incredible in Division I. We had, I know, both boys and girls cross-country team won the state, which if you think about that, that's ridiculous to even talk about ridiculous. That's even ridiculous to think about, because I can't imagine understanding the competitive nature on Division I, and both of our teams win that. I know tennis did extremely well. I know our soccer teams did extremely well, and I just wanted to call that out. It's kind of like when the Bengals were doing extremely good last year during that time. It just kind of unites the city, right? And it gives everybody something to talk about, and everybody's kind of jazzed up about it. Kind of felt that way again, at Common Beer. They had the playoff game, when Mason played. And it's just a cool environment. And I just thought I'd come out on a lighter note and say how neat that's been to watch. And, the success of our sports teams is just, especially this fall. I had some of them wrote down. I'm going to make sure I don't miss any of them. But I just wanted to mention that, old new business that, boys golf team also, state runner-up. They missed it by 2 strokes, which is, 2 strokes and I think it's 290 stroke total. So, by less than 1%, they lost that. So I just wanted to give a shout out to the sports programs this fall that, it's been huge success, and there's a lot of dedication, a lot of time, energy, and effort put into that, and the coaches, and it just, like I said, it puts a pretty good flavor in the city. So just wanted to mention that.
Okay, thank you. And our law director reminded me that I failed to complete we had a motion,
Yeah,
and then we had a second, so we.
Maybe if I could just,
Okay.
this is for the benefit of your clerk of council, who is probably trying to figure out what to do. So there was a motion and a second. I think what I would offer is that if whoever made that motion would like to just withdraw the motion, then it'll just be off the table. We won't have to vote. But I just want to, when there's a motion and a second, for your clerk's sake, I just want her to know what.
For the mayor's explanation on our intent on the property, I hope everybody heard us loud and clear in regards to our intentions there. I will remove that.
Okay.
Now, do I have to do it all?
No one has
Okay.
to do anything. The motion's been withdrawn. The clerk will know what to put in the minutes now.
Okay, I apologize. That was my fault for not finishing that. Okay, anybody else have any old and new business? Yes.
Thank you. A couple of things real quick. I just want to, as we come into the holiday season, thank staff, thank council, thank our executive team, and everyone who has made this past year what it has been. This is an amazing city, and I am beyond honored to be sitting here as an elected official. In the mayor's report earlier, in her year in review, you talked about us being number 4 in the country. That is amazing, and that's down to our staff doing the amazing work that they do. I'm shocked after hearing all the things that have occurred over the last year. I know staff is incredibly overwhelmed at the moment. There's more that we want to be doing and we'll get to, but to accomplish all that has been accomplished in the last year is just phenomenal. So thank you to everybody for all the hard work, and thank you to everybody up here for this last year. I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday. Lastly, I apologize. One more thing very quickly, and I may mispronounce this. Is it Clippinger? Awesome. Well, now my night's complete. It's a success. No, I love your idea. Back to my comments I just made. You know, you've heard we've got a lot going on, but please don't be discouraged by not saying, oh, we're going to do that next week. It's a great idea. We may be able to get to it in 5 years or 10 years or whatever, but please keep coming, and I encourage everybody to come in with ideas like that. Thank you very much.
Okay, anyone else? Okay. Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah, I'll just start with Mr. Clippinger. I think I know somebody that you might know named Carl. I wondered. I saw you in the audience, and I thought, man, he looks like Carl. Okay, well, welcome. I'm so glad to get to meet you. Thank you for showing us. Your ideas are beautiful. And like Councilmember Hackey said, that might be a vision for the future. Government's slow. It takes us a while, but that is a really interesting idea, and we always appreciate when people like Mr. Stegbauer to come and give us great ideas, and those who came to speak on behalf of the Symphony Orchestra. I thank you so much. And I just, I want to praise you for what you're doing in Mason, and I absolutely hated to vote no, and had we taken it to a second reading, we could have passed it. It would have gone into effect January 9th, and that is fewer than 30 days. But I wanted to feel confident in my decision, and that's my comment for my colleagues, is that when we're asking for more information, oftentimes, you know, we are the public, and we need you to empathize with us as representatives of the public. You may see someone that you don't like very much that looks like me and has my name, but I am the representative of the public, just like all of you are elected to be. And so when we ask for more information and clarification, and it's kept away from us because you feel confident in the committee, I don't think that's acceptable. The record will say that I voted no for this grant to be given to the Mason Symphony Orchestra, but it doesn't mean that the record in the minutes, but the record here, please let that show that I care about you, and I'll support you, and I'll come to your events. And I so wish we'd had a different outcome with that tonight and more teamwork so that we could all feel confident in our vote. And as for Gould, I understand social media is not always a nice place to go and look, and there have been there's been a lot of rough play on social media, including by members of this very council in this room. But it's free speech. And sometimes it's hard to read someone else's free speech when it's negative about you. But I don't think that passing a motion to end discussions on it and to put it on hold for a lengthy period of time is the answer. So I'm glad that the motion was withdrawn. And I'd just like to ask council to keep dialogue open and free expression open. Let us talk to each other. I thought it was civil discourse, but I agree. I was upset. My heart was beating out of my chest. And my Apple Watch, I left it at home, but it would have told me what it tells me oftentimes in council meetings, that I appear to be sitting and my heart rate is over 120 beats per minute, because I really care about the public, and I care about what happens with Gould Park, and I care about the legacy and its heritage, its integrity, and the integrity of the city and our conduct with what we do moving forward with the park. So I would ask council that if anything is to happen with Gould Park in the future, that it be listed on the agenda clearly so the public understands, and no more out of the blue motions. So I think I'll just make that motion now at this time, and I hope someone will second that we do not have any public decisions made about Gould Park unless it is placed as an agenda item. Would someone second that?
Yes. If you can second it, we can then, if we. Okay. Should we take an individual vote?
I'm sorry, I was just writing down what I thought. Well, I mean, you can have discussion on the motion, and then if you want to do a roll call, an individual roll call vote, sure, that may be.
Okay, could you repeat the motion, please, again?
The council is not to consider any decisions on Gould property without identifying it on the agenda, the public meeting agenda.
Okay, and there was a second to that. I'll just ask first, is everyone all in favor?
Yes?
Is there anyone opposed? Okay. I don't think we need to make a big deal about this.
I totally agree.
And I don't think, we're
Never
not having discussion on it. No one opposed it, so.
So if there was none opposed, then the motion passes.
Thank you, council.
Okay, are you finished? Okay, I want to clarify this right now. The motion was not to end discussions, and I'm not going to allow you to mislead the public into thinking that that's what that motion was about. I apologize that maybe it was not written the best way, but that's not what that motion was about. It was to end the conversations that people are having in the community that we are doing something terrible behind their backs and we're going to sneak a big building on it and build something behind people's backs, because I'm sick of hearing that. So it was not to end discussions. And I'm not going to let you allow the public to think that that's what that motion was about. Now, just going on, I want to say something about the tree lighting ceremony. I thought this year's ceremony was one of the best. I don't know if anyone got to attend, but Dan Chambers and everyone that worked with him really went all out for all the activities for the kids and the adults. I love the countdown clock, although I almost talked too much and we almost missed the countdown. But I just really thought it was such a nice event, and I love that we were able to hand out the lighted necklaces and stuff to the kids. I think they really enjoyed that. So I'm looking forward again to next year's tree lighting ceremony. It was really nice. And I do want to say something about the poinsettia tree in the community center. If you have not seen that, you have got to go see it, because I was in there the other day and I was just, wow. Where do you get that? Who puts that together? It's not.
How many plants
Is it
are on it?
already put it together?
Dan grows them all year long, and then he.
Oh my gosh, that is the most beautiful tree you can ever imagine. And then they've got Santa's sleigh over there by it, so it's a great place to take pictures, holiday pictures, Christmas pictures. I mean, I've never seen anything like that. That should be on the cover of a magazine. Do you guys do that every year? I don't remember ever seeing that there before. I guess I don't get to the community center a lot, but
The tree has been a tradition for some years. It has grown as we've added amenities with the sleigh and the seat and stuff.
I'm going to find out where you get that at. But I'm just really encourage people to go see it. I mean, I've never seen anything like it, and it is so beautiful. So, and I just want to thank staff again for all their hard work this past year. I do want to thank all the council members for all their hard work this past year. I hope that we have another really great year coming up in 2023. There is, as Councilmember Hackey referenced, there's lots of things to be done, lots of things that are in the works, and this is just a fabulous place to live, and I'm so proud of our city. So thank you all very much. Okay, and with that, we'll go to item 24, recognition of visitors. Is there anyone else that wants to come back up to the podium and say anything to council? Yes, please come up and state your name and your address up here. You need to come to the podium, please.
Hi, my name is Carolyn Quinn. I actually am a Deerfield resident, but I have a unique perspective on the orchestra. So I am a player, and I have also a small business owner in Mason. I have a viola studio for several years here, and I've lived in the area for 37 years. And I am so excited about having this symphony here. And I also want to say that, Dr. Ginther, there are not many people who could get the kind of musicians to volunteer to play. I'm serious, we don't do that. Most of us have a saying, you know, you don't pay, we don't play. I mean, that's just the way it is. But she is just a unique individual. She knows her craft. She's an excellent musician. And the joy that we get from playing under her is so unique. I play in Hamilton, I've played in Swap, I've played in Middletown, I've played in all the regional symphonies. It's different. This is different. And so when we're all playing, we just love to play. You go and everybody's happy being there. It's a really unique situation. I'd also like to say that, as a reminder, in Mason, you have the or one of the top 2 orchestra departments in the state of Ohio. You have 5 symphonies in the high school. To have a symphony in your city so that our students can actually see that and not have to drive downtown, we're doing the scholarship, the uniting of the educational component with the performers is a really wonderful opportunity that you are going to have when you say yes to Mason Symphony. To have your city have their own symphony is just remarkable. I'm originally from New York. I grew up with this. We had this. And until I left, I didn't really know how special that was. But you have that opportunity here, to have that here also. And so I would encourage you to just go ahead, and when she submits the budget, just say yes. You will not be disappointed. She's wonderful. The orchestra is just going to just add so much to Mason City. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone else like to come up to the podium? Okay, thank you all very much. We're to item 25, which I need a motion to adjourn into executive session for the purpose of discussing acquisition, disposition of property, and employment compensation of public employees. Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Bradburn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula?
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth?
Yes.
Councilmember Chance?
Yes.